Fast Forward Productions. The women are speaking.
Where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to accomplish something, figure it out. Go and do it. It's a pretty crass, I think, like theory, but I think people in this world are either assets or pylons. I did get selected for one World Cup. I did get selected for one World Championships, and I had done nationals. So in my fourth ever race, I was selected for the Olympic Games, and we won bronze.
That's insane.
I know. That is awesome. I actually didn't know that story.
It's pretty wild.
It's pretty dang wild. This is Alex. You are listening to the Afternoon Snack Podcast, which you probably already know. Today, we have on a very special guest, Georgia Simmerling, a good friend of mine, a literal superstar athlete, and all-around great person with a refreshing perspective on sport, identity, overcoming adversity, and doing what it takes to get what you want. If you're going to take advice or be inspired by anyone, it's Georgia. She's a 4-time Olympian in 3 different sports. She now owns and runs a female-powered sports agency and is head of partnerships for Project 8, whose current endeavor is to start a Canadian women's soccer league. This episode's really fun and unlike anything that we have ever recorded with a guest so far. I think you're really going to like it, so much so that this is just part 1. Welcome, Georgia. How was the bike ride over?
Really windy, actually. I forgot how darn windy Calgary is.
Yeah.
It's not like Lethbridge, though.
Oh, I don't know. I guess, is Lethbridge super windy?
I think it's the windiest city in North America.
Oh, okay. Calgary's got to be top 3.
It's got to be 100%.
I sometimes, where we ran the other day along Bowness?
Yeah.
It always blows the same direction.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if you go out and back, it's like you're either with the wind and you're flying.
Let's
and then
just
you
say
turn
I was
around.
against it coming here.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you ride along the highway?
I took a very circuitous route, actually, which I realized I shouldn't have listened to my Garmin just plugged it in my Garmin computer because you guys are a bit out in the suburbs. Yeah. I just followed and I was like, are you kidding? I could have come a way more direct route. It was safer, more bike paths. There was one road that was with the wind and I flew. That was fun. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a lot on tap today. Let's
get to it.
Start with just a little bit of a background. So I was thinking if you could cover...
Hold on, I'm just going to pull up Georgia's Wikipedia.
Where you're from.
God.
Start with where you're from, because does Wikipedia say where you're from?
I'm not sure.
I don't even know where you're from. Are you from the East or the West?
Oh my gosh. Alex Parker. I have a ton of friends. I'm a West Coaster. Okay. I'm from Vancouver. I'm from the North Shore of Vancouver, West Vancouver, born and raised. I spent my family cottage my family has a place in the East and I skied out in the East. So people kind of think I'm like a pseudo East Coaster.
Many of our memories are out on the East Coast. So I got a little confused.
Yeah, we got to take it back.
Yeah, because you were a member of the BC ski team when I was a member of the Alberta team.
Mm-hmm.
Became very good friends when we were on the same 2010 Canadian development team.
Yes.
That was a good time.
I think that's when we really bonded.
Yeah.
I think honestly, there was 12 girls across the country on that team in the hopes of some of us making it to go to the Olympics before 2010 games when Vancouver was hosting. I bet a lot of the 12 girls say their most fun summer was one of those summers.
100%. So we spent the whole summer in Fernie.
Working out really hard.
Yeah.
Partying really hard.
Yeah.
Puking both in workouts and partying.
Yeah.
And somehow waking up and doing it all over again.
I know. We were just talking. Sometimes when we're driving around Fernie, because we have a place there now, I think about that. And I think, remember rafting down the river and stuff? I'm like, I was just telling Meredith, we used to party Friday and Saturday night.
Both nights.
And then show up on Monday and be totally fine.
For a triple day.
And I'm like, how did we do that?
I think about it too.
I'm glad you had that summer. It's the only reason why I ever went to Fernie and why we own a place.
Yeah, that was a really good time. I have a very distinct memory of you
crossing
the highway, no hands on your bike.
That is something I would do.
That
Yeah, that checks out. That is something I probably would do.
So we go way back because that was basically when I was, I think, 17.
I was going to say 17 or 18.
And then I was like, I don't want to go to the Olympics. I could, but I don't want to.
I could, but I'm not going to.
And then I went to school and you carried on and had quite the Olympic career.
Yeah. Should we get into it?
Go for it.
So yeah, went to 2010 representing Canada for Alpine skiing in the sport that we met in. And then, yeah, had a pretty... I consider it like a roller coaster. 2010, it was in my home backyard. So from Vancouver, competing in front of, family and friends, an experience that a lot of athletes actually around the world don't get to experience because the Olympics are clearly, worldwide and an experience of a lifetime. I ended up competing in the Super G event. I was on board to do the women's downhill and the women's Super G, kind of a whole story in itself. But between a lot of missed training runs due to weather, a ton of injuries in the lead up to that women's downhill, my coaches pulled me about like 6 minutes before my start time for the women's downhill. So it was an emotional roller coaster, to say the least. That was like, the night before we had, the coaches meeting, and they said, okay, you're not going to race. You've only done one training run, and everyone had only done one at the time. And I said, okay. So I called my family, saying I'm not racing. And then they had another coaches meeting the same night, like literally all within an hour. And they're like, okay, you are going to race now. And so I'm like calling my family again. My brother's like deciding to drive up or not drive up from Vancouver. Ridiculous. And the same thing, like flip flop the next day, all leading up to me not racing in the women's downhill.
And like downhill's intense.
Oh my God.
That's an emotional.
Holy, on it, it's annoying. Honest, it was just ridiculous. So
did you want to race?
I did. Oh my God,
yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
I was like, what? But it was more like, just let me know. Just tell me if I'm going to do that to race, to like, let me get my psyche in this state of mind that I need to be in order to go 120 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
So,
for our listeners out there, downhill is like the ski racing, the ultimate of ski racing. It's like you basically going straight down the mountain.
Yeah. I mean,
like if you imagine ski racing, that's it. Like you're off jumps and stuff, full downhill suit.
Oh yeah. And then what else? After 2010, I think I competed for one more year, and then, or honestly, I get my years mixed up. I really do. I saw this other crazy sport and I said, I think this has more of my personality in and around it.
More likelihood of crashing.
Yeah.
I'll join.
Yeah. Albeit very fun and scary and adrenaline pumping. And yeah, so that sport was ski cross. Many folks probably don't know what ski cross is. It's essentially like roller derby on skis. So there's 4 racers at a time, and girls are batshit crazy. So let's be clear. We know that already. So
I date one, so
exactly.
I do know that.
Yeah, me too. So what is that? I'm not great at math, but that's like 8 poles, 8 arms, 8 skis that are with very sharp edges, sitting down a mountain, down a course, over big jumps. And the fastest 2 skiers move on to the next heat, to the next round. So I saw this sport and it was new at the time. It was 2010 was its debut in the Olympics. So I knew a lot of the people in the sport, and you did too. Kelsey Surwell, one of our dear friends.
Seemed like a lot of alpiners who were just really good skiers, really good free skiers. A lot of people from like BC, Alberta, it seemed. Like people who are used to like bigger mountain, going off jumps.
Absolutely.
Transition to ski cross.
Yes, totally. So I don't know. I think I called Kelsey up and I was like, hey, what's this sport all about? I think at the same time, her coach, who knew my mom, called my mom and said, we want Georgia to try out this sport. And I think I remember my mom getting off the phone and being like angry because she was like, they're not poaching my daughter at this sport. Because it was pretty kind of like out there, kind of crazy at the time in the whole like Alpine community. And then I was like, Mom, I gotta go. But I remember her kind of being like angry, a little bit like shit. Like, I can't tell you either way. But yeah, it was kind of funny. So then, long story short, I ended up on that national team and went to my next Olympic Games in 2014. Obviously, that was, there was a challenging road to get there, but a lot of ups and downs, a lot of injuries, even early on in my ski cross days, like a lot.
Yeah, we'll have to circle back.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, broken neck, broken back.
Didn't you bruise your heart once?
I don't believe that's factual.
Okay.
I think you might have. I think maybe like I had
you
an
almost
EK.
bit your tongue off.
Oh, twice.
That happened.
Yeah, that is fact.
I know that happened.
Oh yeah, I'll show you. Oh yeah, facts.
So
I got big scars across my tongue. But the sport I loved. I truly loved the sport. I was really fast, but I wasn't great at controlling my speed off these very massive big jumps. So that was what aided to a lot of injuries. And there was no development team at the time. Now there is like a very robust provincial kind of system that athletes go up, kind of up the ranks to the national team.
Kids doing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Totally. but there wasn't at the time when I tried it. So they just like put me on the national team because I was technically fast. I mean, I was fast, but I just wasn't very
They're like,
controlled.
you got skis,
Yeah.
you got
exactly.
a helmet,
Exactly.
get in there.
Totally. So I think in like my second ever race, I broke my neck. Straight up broke it.
That is incredible.
Shattered some vertebrae.
So then you're like, I'm still in. I remember you
12,
went off a
2012.
jump once, a drop with a bunch of boys
Mhm.
out of bounds. So when was that?
That
When you were
was-
a teenager?
that would have been before the national team. I was
Okay.
like 16 years old, 16 or 17, probably the year before we met.
yeah.
I was racing on the club out of Quebec. So I didn't make the provincial team my first year. And so I went and skied out in Quebec. And my parents were like, yeah, go learn French, go ski with other athletes and like kind of get out of your comfort zone, which I very much did as a young teenager. And yeah, we were skiing in Chile at the time and we did not know we were out of bounds. There's like the asterisk to the story. And I like just thought I was hitting a small little like pillowy, powdery jump. I ended up skiing over a crevasse and it was a very flat landing and went munch with my jaw to my knee.
That's the
Well,
first
extremely.
time we've used the word munch on the podcast.
Oh, wow.
Which might surprise
Interesting context.
Okay, so you went munch.
Yeah, munch.
Hit your jaw, your chin on the
Shattered
top of your...
9 teeth. 9. Compound fractured my jaw. Bone was exposed in one place. Shattered it in 2 places though, right by my ear as well. And a few of my teammates, I was with a couple boys, we're like 16 years old. They ski down to me, they look at me, and they immediately start crying.
Oh,
I wasn't crying
I remember
yet.
that part of the story, and I have a horrible memory. That's like how much it stuck with
Yeah.
me.
I'm like, okay, let's sort this out.
this isn't helpful.
Not helpful. So we were out of bounds. I had to put my skis back on. They gave me a pile of snow. I had to like put it on the wound, if you will, which was like a bloody mess. We had to get my skis back on and ski out of bounds for like 30 minutes. I mean, it was over a decade ago. It could have been 15, but it felt like a very, very long
Yeah.
time. We had to hike up to get to the main run. And then I remember skiing out of bounds and being like, wait. And then they're like, what? And I would go like this, like, and spew teeth. Multiple teeth were spewing out of, I kid you not, like these are facts.
This makes the ski story that I told a few weeks ago just sound like so vanilla.
Yeah, Meredith took her skis off on a cat track and like sunk.
I did.
Oh.
It was like, but I mean, what do I have to complain about? Really? I didn't lose any teeth.
You really were putting things in perspective.
Yeah.
Wait, so like what was the climax of that story?
The climax of the story was
Was that she was
one
mad
had
at
taught
me.
Yeah, no one had taught me how to like walk up the hill. with
Okay.
skis on.
Like sidestep?
Yeah.
Okay.
like, go up.
Which I didn't
Sure.
think was something that needed to be taught.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm not getting in the middle of this.
No, I know. So Alex was like, just you can take your skis off and walk. And I was
Oh,
like,
but it was
perfect.
really powdery.
It wasn't even. It was like it looked packed, and so I took my skis off, a step, and I was like up to my pelvis.
Yeah.
And she had skied off, and I was like, I am not sure what to do.
Unhelpful.
Yeah,
Similar.
pretty horrible.
I
took-
don't like to overcoach.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm like,
really you're gonna live, you're gonna learn as you
figure it
go.
out.
Yeah,
Figure it out.
learn as you go.
But yeah, I mean, and now that I'm hearing that, I feel like maybe that wasn't worth telling on the podcast.
so did you crash at all alpine skiing?
Oh yes, many times.
I mean, like
Like,
the sky blue.
yeah. I mean, nothing like, so when people tell me, and I really hope this is like a motivational kind of message out there, take it as you wish though. When people tell me that like they've torn their MCL, I have zero sympathy for them. I'm not kidding, because I'm like, you're good. You can fix that. You can get over it. It's called one of those casts or whatever for 6 weeks, and a little rehab and your MCL is probably good to go. All that to say is like, yeah, torn my MCLs many times, a few concussions, a few bone bruisings.
No heart bruising though.
No,
Okay,
I don't know.
were you ever induced into a coma?
I was on a breathing machine when my tongue was super swollen.
Okay.
And I think they had to check my heart.
Yeah.
I think you were on the
Okay.
team at that point. Yeah. There was a downhill and I bit my tongue.
Yeah.
I think were you around for those
yeah,
days? You
I
were.
remember that.
Yeah.
Obviously not with the correct facts.
Yeah,
but
close enough. So, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to get over something, you can get over it. Yeah, I truly, I really think that's like an overarching message that I always tried to share throughout the course of my many injuries, because we were like, how have you accomplished and overcome so many injuries? It's like, honestly, the power of the mind is an incredible thing, and we all underestimate it to the nth degree.
Yeah.
So when you get injured, are you just like, okay, what do I have to do to get back?
I always give myself like a timeline to be sulky, to be pissed, to be angry, to be sad. And that can fluctuate, with the broken neck and being very, very incapable of any type of physical like activity or even like, getting a shirt on. I needed help. That may take mentally longer than like breaking a wrist or something or shattering a wrist, which I've done because I'm somewhat functional. You know what I mean? And my timeline may be very different to yours. So giving yourself a timeline to like just accept where you're at. I think the number one thing with injuries is acceptance. Like you are not where you were a couple months ago. Your body is going to change and you need to accept that you're like the path moving forward in your daily life, your daily like regime is going to be different. So acceptance, I think, is really number one. Giving yourself a timeline of like being pissed off, being angry, like with yourself, with the world, whatever. And then getting over that and understanding what you need to do to be the best that you can be and to come out of that injury and like understanding the end goal and then working your way back and working on the daily, really mundane, boring things that are going to get you there. Because what excites me I always kind of remember this and it's hard to put myself mentally back into those times. But when I like look at old videos and stuff of like rehab, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm actually happy because I was accomplishing things daily and accomplishing things is freaking awesome. Like it feels good. It's good for our bodies, right? So accomplishing like learning how to walk again, it sounds crazy, but I remember like the first time I broke both of my legs and tore every ligament in my knee. And like 4 leg surgeries later, I had to learn how to walk, learn how to freaking get on a bike again. And I remember the day that I was able to get my feet spinning around the cranks on a stationary bike was like, it's going to make me cry. It was like one of the best days of my life because I was able to see not only like get my legs moving, but the numbers on the screen lit up. They came on, they came to life. Yeah. It was just amazing. So like, it's like the daily accomplishments.
Yeah. And it's like, even in moments like that, you can use that change in perspective to have a lot of purpose in something that on paper looks like, a fraction of what you were doing before. Mm-hmm. It's really like you have to have purpose in anything that you do, including really gnarly recoveries.
I think that's it. It's purpose. It's like understanding you have a new purpose. Like your purpose is not to beat your PR of whatever it may be. It's actually to heal your body. And that it's not just the physical things that you need to do on a daily task to heal your body. It's actually like mental, and then nutrition is, of course, a really important thing. Like whenever I was injured, I was like, you're not going to get fat. I just like always told myself like, you're not going to get fat. And maybe got like too skinny a few times. I'm sure we'll get into that later. But I just remember feeling healthy, like while I was injured. And that took a lot of mental strength because I'm like a very food focused person.
Yeah. Well, that's like a really common question that we get when people face injuries is like, well, how do I eat? I'm like, well, you do still need to eat. Like the body doesn't heal on hopes and dreams. And
absolutely.
Wishes. Like there's this kind of natural inclination to say like, well, I'm not training as much. I'm not working out with the same intensity, so I shouldn't eat. And that's like one of the biggest mistakes that you can make in recovery.
Totally.
Yeah. Well,
you just have to eat, relative to, it's pretty, you guys know this more than I do. It's like calories in, calories out. Yeah. I'm sure there's like a little more science to it than that.
That's the gist of it.
That's pretty much,
even though people want to believe something else.
Yeah. You don't want to stop paying attention to your nutrition.
You still do a lot of calories out, even if you're not like skiing every day.
Absolutely.
I mean, your body needs calories to function. And then also, like Meredith said, to heal.
Yeah. Like I was in rehab for like 5 hours a day when I was on crutches because it's like the more acute I was injured, the longer my rehab days would be because everything's so slow.
Anytime you injure something like really like fine motor hands, back, that takes forever compared to like a knee. I mean, a knee takes a long time too, but you can only do so much with extremities. Yeah.
Well, what was really interesting with, definitely fast forwarding, but with my latest, one of like the most challenging injuries was my broken legs. And yes, I broke both at the same time.
That was in ski cross.
That was in ski cross. That was my last race ever. Unfortunately, going down ski cross.
There was one photo of you
I've seen this photo.
Crossing the finish line and you were crashing.
Oh, that was not that crash. That was, I think I sprained heavily both thumbs once, and I think it was that crash.
Okay, so
I like somehow went through. Yeah, if there was visuals here.
To back up and then get to the most difficult injury. What was like in somewhat chronological
Oh gosh.
from ski cross, like what happened? So you crashed your
terms of
second
injuries?
race of switching to that sport.
Yeah,
What happened? And you broke your neck.
correct.
Anything else?
Well, I technically broke my back as well because I broke 3 vertebrae, or like shattered 3 vertebrae. So cervical 7, C7, and then I somehow missed T1, and then I broke T2 and T3. So so upper thoracic.
And when you crashed, were you like, oh shit, like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not okay?
Well, so Kelsey ingrained in me, when I love her to bits, was learning the sport. So this was a very close friend of both of ours in Alpine Skiing. She switched over 3 years prior to me switching over to ski cross, and like really taught me the ropes. Like
She's like
from a
gold medal.
Oh, yeah,
like Olympic gold medalist.
Olympic gold, silver, world champion, globe, X Games. Yeah, like she has all the accolades.
So she's okay.
Oh yeah, she's all right, and a truly
She's
amazing
not a
person.
great singer. I remember she used to sing all the time, like randomly just sing, and I was like, stop singing. But yes,
Oh my
love her to
God.
bits. She's awesome.
Yes. So she used to always tell me, like, in ski cross, always keep going. Like, you never know when there's a crash. So if you crash at the top of the course, you always keep going, because there could be a crash lower down, and you could like pass people that have crashed, and then you can keep going and then maybe advance. So you just never know. So when I crashed really hard. I didn't actually concuss myself, that injury. And so I remember like falling and getting up and like looking for my equipment, moving my head and being like, oh, fuck, excuse my language. And like, I think I remember then like sitting down and like slowly, it was a blur, but I think like slowly lying back down, and the pain in like the upper, neck area was excruciating. So I was like, I don't think we're going to be passing anyone today. I think the day's done.
We're done for today.
I think we're done. Yeah. And then,
man.
I mean, it was a like full on body brace from like the neck to the lower, to like my hips essentially. Honestly, the legs was long, like a really long recovery, but the neck was really that was a mental struggle. Like, because you're so injured. I mean, you're injured with broken legs, but like, I don't know. There was just something like, clearly the chance of me paralyzing myself was very high. It affected my family. It affected me. Like it just was, there was another level to it. And I was to some degree more incapable of doing things on my own. So it was a challenge, I remember, for sure.
Yeah. And then after that,
oh my God.
You mentioned a couple of
I mean,
wrists.
I shattered my wrist. So I shattered my wrist and had like 2 plates. I think I broke it in like 5 places. And that was early on when the spark had ignited of me becoming a summer Olympian.
Was that before the legs or after?
No, but well before.
Okay.
Yep, a couple years before.
Okay.
I think the summer before, I had said to myself, when I broke my neck, for some reason, it was probably the Vicodin speaking. I thought to myself, why can't I become a summer Olympian? I was very much a winter athlete throughout the course of my career. Like I was a ski racer through and through, pretty confident in other sports. Like played a lot of sports growing up, but ski racing was my sport and my ticket to the Olympics. I'd been once, and I was on track to going to 2014 for ski cross in Sochi, Russia. Again, it was probably the Vicodin. And I remember thinking, why can't I become a summer Olympian? And funny enough, it's like very serendipitous, but the Women's World Cup of Soccer was happening in Vancouver of 2015. And my now fiance was playing in that World Cup. And I knew some of the girls on the national team, some of Steph's teammates.
Steph Labbe. And if like you're not Canadian, you might not remember, but she won Olympic gold so I guess it was 2021, but it was the 2020 Olympics.
Yeah.
And basically, like, what do we call her here in Canada?
Minister of Defense.
Minister of Defense. Basically, I remember watching that game.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah. So
the girl made a lot of PK saves. That's for sure.
Yes.
It was,
Another
yeah, another one.
Yeah.
Another one.
Exactly. It was a while.
I know what music we should play in the background of that one.
Yeah.
So Georgia and Steph compete with us for power couple. I don't know, like if Olympic gold medals count for much, then they count for a lot and they take the cake, but we'll keep fighting.
Alex, we're JV power couple, okay? Thank you.
Okay,
Oh my
fine. Sorry
God.
for putting myself in the same league as you.
Anyway.
I'm sorry I compared myself to 2 Olympians. Do you ever compare yourselves to each other? Steph has more medals than you.
Oh, yeah. My friends remind me of that on the daily
Okay,
basis.
I'm sorry.
We had a barbecue a couple weeks ago, and a friend of my friends who I actually had a long story. I'd known this girl for many, many years, and we had a mutual friend. I hadn't seen her in like decades. She came over. She's like, Georgia, so like, can you show us your other medal? And I'm like, Becca, fuck off. I only have one. She's referring to Olympic medals.
Oh yeah.
She had a couple of drinks, and she's like, so no. So like, where's your other one? I'm like, I only have one, you fucking asshole. It was pretty funny. She's like, yeah, Steph's showing us her gold medal, which is way nicer than your bronze, by the way. It was pretty funny. Made me laugh. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to go to the Summer Olympics. I pretty much told myself like, why can't I do it? And which is a crazy thought, but that's really like where my head went. It was like, why can't I? And if I don't, I'll end up doing something that I'm loving, like, and that's continuing the path of ski cross. So it kind of started there, and it actually started with the sport of rowing. I got into a single scull, which is like a single boat, which is extremely tippy. If you have ever, oh my God, it's not.
Ask if you went in the drink the first time you were out.
Oh, 100% I did. Oh yeah, big time. Oh yeah. Yeah. Me in the Pacific Ocean, like we bonded that summer. And I think like pretty cool part of this story is I knew nothing about the sport of rowing, but someone like there was a talent ID camp or something. And I straight up emailed info@rowingcanada.com. A lot of people were like, oh, how'd you accomplish that? How'd you do that? And I'm like, where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to accomplish something, figure it out. Go and do it. It's a pretty crass, I think, like theory, but I think people in this world are either assets or pylons.
I love that you just said that. 'Cause that's like something I really want to say, but I refrain from. So thanks.
No problem.
I agree with that.
We should bring her on full time.
Yeah.
Don't be a pylon, really. Be an asset to yourself, to other people around you. Just who wants a pylon in their life,
Nobody.
No one. So anyway, who emails me back is someone that I actually knew, and he was a coach. I had met him at some other like Olympic event, and he said, hey, Georgia, come out to the rowing club or whatever. Like, we'll put you through some tests. I did. Long story short, I ended up rowing for that summer, but I was new to ski cross, and I also was trying to balance ski cross with rowing, like a summer training of ski cross. And by the end of the summer, even though I was really excited about and like kind of passionate about what I was doing with rowing, they were like, we would love to keep you on and further, build on your base that you have. You have a long way to go, but we want to keep working on it. But we need you full time, like full time. And I said, thanks, but no thanks. I'm still really, really like loving this sport that I'm doing, which was ski cross. So I was a bit deflated, I remember. So did the next winter season, did pretty well skiing, then ended up shattering my wrist early on towards the, halfway through the season, halfway through the season. And so this idea of the Summer Olympics like never went away. So if it wasn't rowing, then what else is it going to be? As you know, Alex, we do a ton of bike testing for ski racing, probably a couple times a year. You're in the lab, and you do various other physical tests, but the bike test is one of them. And people kept on saying I had like a World Cup men leg strength. Like,
this is like power output testing.
Yeah. What you probably remember what?
Yeah, like you would have to hold like a certain wattage. I remember at one point they would test your lactate tests and
you'd
stuff.
You'd get to 6, and then they'd say just go to.
Yeah, you'd have to hold it until.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you're like slowly ramping up.
And you would basically
it's called
throw
a ramp
up after
test.
every single test.
Absolutely.
We used to do it at the University of Calgary. And I was like, Georgia can't come to lunch. She's sick.
She's unwell.
Like after.
Yeah, because you pushed so hard that you threw up.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. So anyway, I was, but so we had like a negative connotation to the sport of cycling. Like, I don't think skiers really like have a joy, like the idea of cycling and joy go hand in hand. They don't, because we relate them to this bike testing that we had to do. So I kind of put that aside and said, I guess I got to give it a go, because people have told me that I had strong legs, which a lot of alpine skiers do. Once again, I email info@cyclingcanada.com, where there's a will, there's a way. And sure enough, again, someone responds that I know. Actually, he was a strength coach who was doing some like freelance work with Cycling Canada at the time. And they were once again doing like a talent ID camp for track cyclists. And I was like, I know nothing about track cycling. I've never tried this sport in my life. Let's give it a go. So he's like, yeah, we'll get you on a plane to LA. There's a track down there. We're doing a talent ID camp. And so I went and tried the sport of track cycling. By the end of the 5 days, I clearly was strong, but still knew nothing about the sport. Yeah. I mean, I think the rest is history.
Out of curiosity, what did that email say?
Shoot. If I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty bold, confident person in most aspects of my life. So it probably was
like, hey, I'm Georgia. You want me. Trust me, I'm about to make your life so much better.
Trust me, you want me. No, I don't think that was the approach I took. Maybe something a little more, PC. But yeah, it was probably I want to try out the sport. I'm interested. I'm a Olympic skier or 2 other sports of whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm hopefully was a bit more eloquent than that, but
I have strong legs.
Yeah, exactly. And he knew this guy, I forget his name, but he knew who I was. So he probably was like, yeah, you probably should try it out.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the sprinting national team was looking for up and comers. So in cycling, if Meredith, this might be a bit challenging for you, but similar to Alpine skiing is kind of divvied up into 2 groups. There's tech and speed.
Yeah. And
tech is what Alex did. I did more speed. So speed consists of 2 events and tech consists of 2 events. There's a little caveat with combined in there. Yeah. So tech is slalom and GS and speed is super G and downhill. And so you can kind of relate that to track cycling where there's endurance and sprinting. So there's many events in both.
Kind of like speed skating.
Yeah, very similar. And track and field.
Yeah.
Track and field, running. So the sprinting team was looking for young bucks and up and comers. The endurance team was already very successful. The women's team pursuit team was ranked 2nd or 3rd in the world, and they were not looking for anyone to join their team. After 1 or 2 camps of trying track cycling out, doing more of the sprinting technique, like the events, I was like, ooh, I think I want to try that actually. And that was endurance. So fast forward, I don't know, 6 months or something. I don't really remember. I was in Vancouver at the time and I had a little community that I had met. Again, I had figured out to find a track bike. I'd figured out to find these crazy expensive disc wheels. I'd figured out a coach to train at the track, met a bunch of people. And I think another message here really is a lot of people struggle to be humble and to be vulnerable. And a lot of athletes actually throughout the course of their career don't experience something new for the first time at 24, I think I was, or 23. So I was a total newbie. So to learn from little 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds that had been doing the sport for many, many years, it's challenging. It takes a lot of strength to just put your ego aside. No one gives a crap if you've been to the Olympics in this other world. And it was a massive learning experience though too. And I truly, I loved it. And I remember calling up, who has the audacity to call up the national team coach and say, hey, Craig, my name's Georgia. I'd really like to make your team. And Craig's like, yeah, I've heard of you. There's absolutely no chance you're making my team.
This is the endurance team.
Yeah, this is the team I wanted to be on. It was the national team coach, the Olympic team, hopefully going to the Olympics. And I'm I just remember driving to the track and I was in such an exciting kind of pivotal moment of this transition that I was doing. And I put all my eggs in one basket. That was another thing. I had committed to put skiing aside for this summer because I had learned my lesson the summer before. I was trying to balance the 2 and it was too much.
And had you been to the second Olympics in 2014 yet, or was this before?
I had been. I think I had been. Yep, I had. Yes. I remember tears started to flow down my eyes and out of my face. And I was keep him talking. There was something in my head that just told me keep him talking. And we just started. Apparently, I like to talk a lot. So I just we started kind of shoot the shit or whatever. And I don't remember what that was about. But the next thing he said is you know what? I like your attitude. You ride an individual pursuit in 3 minutes and 44 seconds and call me back. And I was like, hell yeah. I got something. I got something that I can hold on to and call him back. Hopefully if it's not a no, essentially. It's not a no. So I remember I get off the phone and I'm my emotions were just through the gambit. I was so pumped. I was crying and then excited. The next thing was okay, where there's a will, there's a way. Let's figure out how to ride an individual pursuit in 3 minutes, 44 seconds. That time to me, meant nothing. Literally ignorance is bliss.
You pull over, Google,
straight
individual
up.
pursuit.
Yeah, literally. Well, so an individual pursuit is obviously like a solo ride around the track, which is 3 kilometers. A team pursuit, which is the team that he coached, which was my goal to get on, is the women's team pursuit is a team of 4 women for 4K. Okay. So he wanted to know my strength essentially individually before there was any other conversation. Yeah, I like figured out how to get to a track that could facilitate that time. And kind of crazy, there's only 2 indoor, like UCI, which is like the governing body of cycling globally. There's only 2 North American indoor regulated tracks. There's one in LA and one in Milton, Ontario. So I was training at one that was 200 meters around in Burnaby, Vancouver. So I called up a friend that lived in LA. I said, hey, buddy, I think I'm coming down. Can I crash at your place for a couple weeks? He said, yeah, no problem. He lived in, who doesn't want to go to Orange County for 6 weeks? So I drove down there, packed my little car up. 6 weeks later, I called Craig and I said, hey, Craig, I got the time. Yeah, those 6 weeks were, challenging, of course. And I had someone to read out lap times and help coach me. And I kind of had built a little community in LA. And he was like, oh, shit. Okay, you're serious about this. I fast tracked. I did 1 camp with the development team. I did some road cycling. I did some track meets outside. So like some track cycling competitions. He said, like, start to be comfortable with your bike, like work on your bike handling skills before I'm allowing you in the line with my team, essentially like to be a hazard with girls in the national team. He's like, gain some bike handling skills.
Yeah.
That's critical. So I did. And I went to nationals later that year. I was like right underneath the girls on the national team. I had a meeting with him and he said, do a camp with the national team. I did that. And then he said, okay, you've made my team, but by no means is this me telling you that you're going to make it, that I'm going to select you for a World Cup, which is, there's like 4 or 5 World Cups per season. Those are world champs. And then there was the Olympics like in 6 months from that conversation. And I said, okay. And I just was like so hungry. He had said yes. I was on the team. I did get selected for 1 World Cup. I did get selected for 1 World Championships, and I had done nationals. So in my 4th ever race, I was selected for the Olympic Games and we won bronze.
That's insane.
I know. That is awesome. I actually didn't know that story.
It's pretty wild.
It's pretty dang wild. Who says I'm going to go to the Summer Olympics when they're, what did you say, 24?
No, it was like 22 or
22.
No, I think it was 23 or 4, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think it was 24 because I was like 26, I think, in Rio.
That's really incredible. I'm just struggling to find the words.
It's a very long, sorry for the monologue. There's like there's a lot of detail there that I remember.
I think it's to sum it up, like just
figure it out.
Figure it out. Like,
figure it out.
really
You want to do something? Figure it out. And you for sure need like your support system from people around you, your family, if that is your support system, your friends, like a community. But at the end of the day, who needs to believe in that goal is you without fail, like without stop. Yeah.
It's not like you picked a sport that you were like, I'm going to do gymnastics.
Exactly.
You found something that you like, you're like, okay, I have the potential for this. And like you did with like rowing and then also now, and then with biking, like that helps as well. It's not like you were just randomly.
For sure. Factually, at 24 years old, there are very few, well, depending on the athlete, but there are very few sports that you can just pick up and try. Bobsled, that's a sport that there are much later entries to the sport. Cycling, for sure. Track cycling and road cycling. Rowing is also one of them. And even cross-country skiing, kind of like a little bit, but there are not that many. Gymnastics, hockey, soccer, not those sports. Don't pick them. Yeah. You will fail. Like those are, so it's like within the realm of what you're capable of accomplishing. Yeah, for sure.
The bobsled gets a lot of CrossFitters.
For sure.
Power sports.
Right.
Yeah, you see that a lot.
So bobsled gets, yeah.
Yeah, there's a book by Angela Duckworth. It's called Grit. And if you ever want to read a book that's like about you, read that one. But her research is really, she's just basically done like her life's work on this character trait of grit and what makes people in a lot of different endeavors successful versus what makes people unsuccessful.
Interesting.
And one of her things, she says, in the pursuit of anything, but especially athletics, effort counts twice. And so she says, when you have potential and you have talent, it takes effort to develop the skill. And then it takes effort again to turn that skill into achievement.
Oh, I think I do want to read it. Shit.
It speaks to your experience getting on the national team for team pursuit, but it also speaks to you overcoming all of these injuries.
Yeah.
It's like when you're faced with adversity, you're like, I don't even think,
You just
did you
figure it
at
out.
once think like, oh, should I quit? Or were you just like tunnel vision, like gotta
No.
get back, like do
Yeah.
what it takes?
So like, no, I never ever thought I will quit ever. And I'm, or even like a nicer way of saying that to myself, like I'm going to move on or you do something else. No, never.
Yeah.
What I will say is there were for sure really, really hard times. You know, I remember FaceTiming Steph many times, literally just like bawling and FaceTiming her. So she would just like, what a way to answer a call, right? She would just like pick it up and I'm just bawling. Like,
Better than calling and then not being able to talk because you're crying so hard and they're like, hello? Hello, Alex?
Yeah, she just
And it's
hangs
like,
up.
is everything okay?
Connected
And then all you hear is,
Yeah, I would just be bawling. But on the flip side of that is she would make me smile very quickly, like a couple minutes, honestly, tops. And then, so there was just like, there was a lot of freaking roller coasters, like a lot of ups and downs. But I mean, having her was like through that specific injury, like my legs was something. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know how I would have done it without her, as well as having cycling at the end of the tunnel, like to be my light at the end of the tunnel, because skiing was done. I was always planning on retiring after 2018. So I broke both legs like 3 weeks before what would have been my fourth Olympic Games in 2018 in Pyeongchang. And inevitably watched my two teammates win gold and silver. That was a tough one to swallow, even though I love them dearly. Yeah. So my mind instantly switched to, okay, we're rehabbing this for cycling.
so what happened with your leg? So you crashed ski cross
I
in the
crashed
last race.
Yep. I just like spiral fractured my left tibia and fibula, and then cracked the top of my tibia plateau in my right leg, and then tore every single ligament also in my left knee, which was the spiral fracture. And so I was in the hospital for like one afternoon. The nurses are like, so yeah, you're going to be here for a while. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, you need to be able to get up into a wheelchair. And I'm like, can I try to walk? And they're like, that surgery, they did my legs. They were going to wait a couple weeks for the swelling to go down in my knee in order to then do the
Like
knee surgery.
bones first, then
Exactly.
ligaments.
Exactly. So,
And you had a plate put in.
I had a rod,
Yeah.
many screws, yeah, in both legs. So I come to and I'm like, can I try? And they said, we're okay, sure. We're going to come back in 30 minutes. And I'm like, great. Okay. So I sit up after surgery. I have some water or whatever. I sit up and I'm like, oh shit, I'm a bit woozy as you are.
Yeah.
And my mom is like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, Steph is like, gee, like, just come on, like spend a night. I'm like, no. And I'm like, give me my crutches. And I take the crutch. They come back and they're like, okay, let's see how this goes. And I take my crutches and they're like, you need to go up off your bed, out in the hall, down the hallway, up the stairs, down the stairs, back to your room in order for us to release you. And I did it. I was like, okay, let's go.
So how, 2 broken legs.
So
How did you do that with
okay,
2 crutches? Were you
clearly-
balancing?
No. So I actually was able to put weight on my one leg.
Okay.
So on, and I don't know how, but I was able to do that. And in talking to my physio that I spent many hours with, Damian Maroney, bless his soul, he had said in some cases a tibia plateau is really, really, really tricky to come back from. Like it can be really bad. And in some cases, you can also feel no pain.
Okay.
Like it's really odd. So I for sure felt some pain,
Yeah.
but I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Were you
I did.
full cast? Like,
No. Was I in a boot? Oh my God, I don't remember. No, because they had metal in me. I was,
so you
you're
were
good to
good.
go.
oh,
Yeah.
No, literally nothing.
okay.
Like nothing. You're just, you're pinned. You're good to go. It's like the new way. You know, it's like, instead, like shattering this wrist. I was in just like one of those soft things that I could take off because you're
They
reinforced.
pack it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
That makes
reinforced.
sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
obviously don't like go and,
Yeah.
whatever, play tennis. But I mean, I remember that night I was like, Steph, I need to shower. And so she had to I would get on my crutches and she had to basically hold me, put one hand in front of my chest and one hand behind and make sure I wouldn't, because my foreaft was not good.
Yeah.
My balance. So she had to steady so I couldn't fall back. And then getting to a tub, I had to put one leg because I couldn't keep my leg down. Like literally, like my leg had to be on a table at all times. Like this one was fine, but this one was like so painful. And so I would sit on the edge of a tub. I got a chair, I think, to put my leg up. And then I would like do a massive core exercise to go back and put my head all the way back. So then I was vertical. And then I would like wash my hair. And she's like kind of holding like my towel. Like it was a situation. It was wild. But yeah, like moments that you need someone to support.
Literally.
And that was her.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm. It was hard for her. I mean, it's hard. Those times are really hard for those people as well. And like you forget that because you're the one that's in pain and you're the one that's injured. But the support system is really, really, really critical.
Yeah. There was one time this winter when I thought Meredith had crashed skiing. We had separated on a run that was pretty treacherous. And I was like, oh my God, I'm at the bottom thinking like, and I know, of course, I'm like worried about her for her, but I'm also like, I am not a good caretaker.
Oh my God.
And who's going to cook?
Oh my gosh. DoorDash. DoorDash is going to cook. Yeah, let's get the first sponsor, DoorDash.
To wrap this one up, part one, let's just touch quickly on what you're doing now. So you've kind of got two main things.
Yeah. So, I take so long to answer questions. After retirement, I knew I wanted to stay in the world of sports, more from the business lens, though, not like coaching. That just wasn't for me. And so I saw a massive gap in the Canadian sports landscape. I quickly started the first female-led, female-founded sports agency in Canada. So I represent athletes, all with somewhat of like an Olympic focus. That's the world I know. So I have like an all-female 8 athlete roster from summer, winter, Paralympic athletes, able-bodied athletes, coast to coast. So I'm essentially their brokerage to get it. I take a couple points on a marketing deal that I bring in for them. I earn what I bring in. And yeah, it's very much a challenging world. Canadian sports system is tricky. We try to compare ourselves to our southern counterparts, and that's a really terrible mistake because we're like less than a tenth of their marketing dollars and people and all that. Is that accurate in terms of people?
Yeah.
It's got to be. Yeah, for sure. Sports marketing for sure. So I've done that for about a year and a half ever since retirement. And then I've also been working for the best like 7 or 8 months with a business called Project 8. Project 8 is making history in Canada by bringing the first ever women's sports league of any kind to our country. So kind of crazy that we're saying that's a fact. Hockey, unfortunately, has tried. They are going through their own kind of trials and tribulations. So we are bringing a professional domestic Canadian women's soccer league. We're bringing in premium, or it will be a premium product in terms of the sponsors that are already behind us from a league standpoint, as well as top talent from around the world. So top football players, soccer, female soccer players are wanting to play in our league. So super exciting.
That's really cool.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what makes it different than the women's hockey league, which I don't know, they had a different, maybe the professional women's hockey league. We know some people in that.
Yep.
So is that just because it crosses border with the US? Like what makes...
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, some of their salaries are not considered.
Oh, no. Yeah.
They're just not getting paid as much as they should be. Exactly.
But most people have another job.
Yeah, absolutely. That is not the case of our league. We will be paying a minimum salary comparable to any other women's soccer league around the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We are excited to bring this product to life and give Canadian fans what they want, because they've been cheering on our women's soccer team for decades and they get these, highs every 4 years of the Olympics and the World Cup. But I think the appetite is there. The fans are there. They're ready. And soccer is, it's the most popular sport in the world. Like there are soccer fans. And the other thing to note is Canada has the 3rd largest talent player pool in the world. So women's soccer players, there's over 110 Canadian women playing professionally overseas. So we are going to draw at least half of that talent back to our league.
Wow.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so cool. So you stay busy.
Yeah, the other day we went for a run. You're like, I just had a meeting with a guy from Amazon. I'm like, damn.
Guy from Amazon. I thought we were big.
Yeah.
We were a big deal, Alex.
I just ordered something from Amazon. I don't.
Oh my God. Is that the same?
I had a meeting with a guy from Amazon, and I don't mean a meeting with the delivery guy from Amazon. No, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm very lucky and honored to be a part of this super exciting team. I'm sure I clearly have a tie to women's soccer, obviously who my partner is. And it's something that I'm very passionate about.
Yeah. If your athletic career is any indication of where this is headed, yeah, you'll just figure it out.
Yeah, I'm in charge of bringing partnerships to the league. So league title sponsors. And let's just say it's going pretty well.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
You're good at vouching for what you believe in. That's for sure.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll wrap up part 1. If people want to find you on Instagram in the meantime, if they haven't already found you on Wikipedia, and then through that, what's your handle? Where can they find you if they want to follow along with your new endeavors and learn more about you?
That's so kind of you. My personal Instagram, I just had to double check here, is G Simmerling, which is my last name. So Simmerling, phonetical G Simmerling. And then AG, my business, has its own account. And I believe that's Team AG Sports.
Okay.
Yeah, that's us.
Awesome.
Cool.
We'll catch you at part 2.
Thanks, guys.